All right, so we got to talk about the big bad, bulking, right? See, something I've come to terms with lately is I should have never bulked. Now, fortunately, and this is why it's important to cut, is because cutting is going to make you a lot more patient because it's going to reframe the whole journey for you. Because after you cut, you're just going to maintain your weight. You're going to maintain your small waist and just put on muscle. But because you know the muscle building process, it's a lifestyle, it's for life, you don't need to bulk again to speed that up. And that's why you shouldn't bulk because cutting innately is just more powerful. I can definitely attest to the fact that I've gained a lot more like for my vibration, excuse me, frequency and just energy levels literally from being leaner and scale going down. And I can't imagine 2, 3 months as I get, like slimmer and slimmer. Because something I never understood till recently was, yeah, your energy levels actually get better to a certain point because if you're 6% body fat, your energy levels will suck. But most people watching, you don't want to be a bodybuilder. 10, 12% is not crazy. There are people that do that and feel actually better than they do at 15, 18%. Because bulking, the more I think about it, yeah, bulking is the instant gratification. I want the muscle now. I want it as quickly as possible. So let me bulk. But ultimately, you're just spending more money. You're gonna take more mass gain years. And most people, when they bulk, you're not even doing a clean bulk. It's actually a dirty bulk. Like you just justify eating worse foods because I'm working out, so you'll burn off. And then the more you learn, you realize, actually, you don't burn that many calories in the gym. That's why the most important thing for cutting is restricting calories, cutting back into calories. You can increase your steps or work out more, but that's just going to do more harm than good. So ultimately, you have to view the gym as building muscle and then your diet. That's how you're going to cut and lose the weight. It's primarily through your diet and then the steps, but really through the diet. The diet's the most important thing. And see, now that I am over the whole instant gratification, I know it's going to take a really long time. If you look at, at least the natty people, right? Because remember, we're dealing with naturals, people that don't need bodybuilders. You're just trying to be the best version of yourself, lean, aesthetic, and strong. To really reach that peak, it's 10, 15 years. A lot of people, they're in their 30s. They've been training since like 14, 16, maybe 18. But really, maybe after the 10, 12, 15 mark, that's when they really start to see the gains because if you've been working out for 5 years, maybe 3 of those years you were half-assing it. Maybe year 4 and 5 you really started taking this serious. So you have to factor all that in too. And because it's spiritual, there's going to be some you're going to go forward a little bit and you go backward a little bit. And ultimately, you get to a point where there's no more backward. You're only going forward because it's a lot easier if you're bulking when you go out with your friends. Oh yeah, I can eat this. Like I'm bulking, whatever. I'm skinny. Especially if you're a tall dude like me. Not tall niggas listening. That's the trap too because you can get away with it, but you still shouldn't do it because when you go out with your friends, whatever. Okay, yeah, I can eat this. I can eat the goy slop because oh yeah, I'm bulking. It's fine. Like I'm already skinny. I'm trying to put on muscle, but that what the bulking does is it makes you think, oh yeah, now I can eat for taste because oh yeah, I work out. Like I can justify. I'll burn it off because I'm active, and you fall back into that instant gratification, or oh yeah, you can justify it because whatever reasons. That's why me personally, I'm not going to go in their bulk. There's really no reason to because I know the process is very slow. There's no reason to bulk again because the more I think about it, unless you're trying to be some bodybuilder, there's no need to bulk. You just cut once and then you maintain. But I've gained so much, and the scary part is in a good way. But wow, I'm like a month into this, and and that's the thing too. You can. I'll be saying the same stories as other people because ultimately, anyone like on the body game and the lean is all stuff, like it sounds nonsense, but for some reason, I just knew like, yeah, like this makes sense because I was already at a certain point of understanding it because when you start vibrating higher, things just start shifting around you. But for me, the ultimate reason I decided to start cutting was I was like, oh, this is difficult, and I know there's so much I can gain from my vibration and frequency from cutting. Because the thing about this is what's going to be really hard for some of you guys to understand, but innately the gym and dieting, it's not about like getting strong in the gym. It's not about, getting the six pack abs. Ultimately, this whole cut and lean lose law thing is it's a really important part of the self improvement journey, but the actual spiritual journey, because it's not that when you get in shape, all your problems go away. When you get in shape, when you're really lean, when you're really aligned, you vibrate at the frequency needed to deal with all other problems. That's what a lot of people don't get. You see, you view the gym as a chore, but if you viewed it as a non-negotiable or as a part of your standards, it's not going to be a chore. It's just going to be something you do, especially when you get to the point where you recognize, like, yeah, like someone that can really, really control every day what they eat. That person, there's nothing that person can't do because that's the hardest thing. And I want you guys to really think about this. What is more difficult, being like sub 10% or $1 million? The more I learn, it's actually the being sub 10%, like really being lean, because there's a lot of millionaires. But if we had to quantify it, there's even less people with visible abs that are visibly lean with muscle on them, because it is extremely difficult to do. Because the two deadly sins, definitely lust and gluttony, but even more so gluttony. It's why so many people are diabetic. They have insulin resistance, all these other health problems, because so much people cannot get a control over their gluttony. And that's what I recognize now, that like cutting has taught me. And yeah, it's still, there's still a lot that has to be done for me personally, but ultimately, you don't need as much food as you think. When you're hungry, you're really not hungry. You're just bored. You just want a dopamine hit. You're just eating for taste. That's why I think cutting is so much more important than bulking is for a lot of people. Because if you can go on the bulk, you'll gain more muscle. But I'd argue now, I've gained so much more just like deciding to cut, really seeing how much food I'm eating and how much food I actually need to eat. You just recognize, it's way less. And it's interesting because I was listening to someone and they're like, oh yeah, if you're in debt or if you have problems, just get in shape. And that seems stupid, but when you really think about it, it's really not, because anyone that can consistently eat the same foods for fuel, they don't eat for taste, they're delaying gratification, they're not being consumed by instant gratification, they're gonna have the necessary vibration and frequency to handle their debt, negative relationships. Because that's another thing too. If you don't like the state of your relationship or you don't like your partner, when you get on the self improvement journey, you start working on, you start taking your health serious, you're gonna know it's the consequence. You guys are gonna separate because your standards are gonna raise so high. You're gonna be like, you're not gonna tolerate it, anymore too. You used to be able to go out and eat with your friends because you were okay with occasionally eating terrible foods. But once you have this shift where no, there's no more eating for taste. Eventually I'll earn, and that's the biggest thing too. You have to actually, and I mean, you have to truly lock in for a long extended period of time. And for me, everyone always talks about 6 months, but it makes a lot of sense because it's easy to do 3 months. But after the 3 months, 4, 5, and 6, now it's really like an identity shift that you're starting to have. It's going to become a lifelong thing. See, for me, because yeah, there are probably people out there that are very lean. That, they can eat Oreos, they can eat Chips Ahoy, but me personally, I haven't earned that yet. You want to get to the goal first, and then you can go out and balance. Because the people are telling you, oh, balance, moderation, they're wasting on a balance. Like, this is the scary part too. When you really start to lock in, and you just look around you, and this is the thing too. It's 'cause I was talking to my friends about this, and it's almost funny because if you don't like get the whole self improvement thing, you're gonna seem like the bad guy. I jokingly call myself Aaron Yeager, but that's how you're gonna sound to people, honestly. Because you just like, you'll walk around in an environment, right? And you'll look around and you'll just see how like fat everyone is. But for some reason, before you cut or you really get on this journey or you really start taking health seriously, you don't become aware of that. So one, what it does is it makes you more objective of your reality. Like you can actually see how everyone is around you. But then for you, it makes you understand that, oh wow, you're actually like the exception. Because a lot of you listening, you're probably the most locked in person, especially if you're a nigga, my niggas out there. y'all know how it is. It's really hard to find people that are like in fitness, really about this health shit. So you already know how rare it is. It's even rarer for us, but that's where the click is, where you start to see, yeah, wow, like no one really takes their health seriously. And you recognize, yeah, it's because of their standards. Because most people, and the thing about tracking is, because ultimately, I used to be against tracking calories, but it's important. You know how much like calories you're eating. But you see, when you get to the point where you're eating the same meals, it doesn't become as important, but it's just being mindful. Okay, like I eat about 2,500 calories to maintain my weight. Like you should at least know that. So when you eat the same meals, you know, okay, if you're gaining weight, then boom, that's because I put on more muscle because you're eating the same calories, you're eating the same foods. But cutting is just really like, and the thing about this whole like spiritual, like cutting, self improvement, lifting, all that stuff is the shifts are always so subtle and you don't know exactly when they occur. Like I can't tell you what day at time. I started looking at my reality and I could just see people around me for like what they are. And there could be a bunch of reasons, you just get more aligned, more spiritual. Maybe my pineal glands working better because my body fat's going down. There could be a bunch of reasons, but ultimately, when you decide to cut, or not even cut, just like really take your health seriously. Because see, for me, there's gonna be levels. You're gonna go from okay, you eat McDonald's every day to maybe 3 days to 2 days, but then the one day. But I think now the real magic comes when you go from, you know what? I actually don't need McDonald's at all. If you want McDonald's, you can make it at home. Because that's the thing too, as someone, I always tell you guys, I've tried so many diets, right? I've tried keto, carnivore. I've basically tried every diet, but you can really make all those fast food meals. Like your favorite fast food meal, you can make at home, make it clean with like 2 or 3 ingredients. Now, for me personally, I just, and that's another thing too. Ultimately, we're very lazy as humans, so me eating the same meals is just easier. But if you need the variety, at least you can cook at home and have healthy meals. But ultimately, just avoiding the terrible foods and eating, whole foods at home is gonna be the most important thing because it just makes your energy levels better. You're not gonna get tired, more muscle, less fat. There's just so much benefits to doing this. And that's why I can't understand. Well, no, I can't understand because, remember there's two sides. There's before you get on self-improvement and then after when you've been doing it for a while. But you're gonna get to a point where your thoughts and actions are consistent. Everything you say, and that's another thing too. I find that me making these videos actually helps a lot too when you talk about it because everything you talk about, you actually do. If you go out, you're actually gonna eat before you go out, so you don't have to eat into the goofy shit at the place or whatever. If you go out with your friends, it's just steak and potatoes. You're not gonna get like sweets and all this stuff. And if you want sweets, you can make it at home. But this is just your standards getting higher. But what I don't ever want to do is just go back. You don't want to go backwards to that old version because I see now the real key is just being consistent for a very, very long period of time. That's why you have to have the identity shift because once you start eating for fuel, it's easy. Oh yeah, I'm eating this, makes me feel good. I feel better, and it tastes good because a lot of you guys don't get that. Your taste buds are just fried. They're just fried. So you can't even eat whole foods because your body just wants the hot flaming Cheetos or whatever people eat. Like I used to love those foods too. Don't get me wrong, but you get to a certain point where you're just like no more. Like let me actually eat for fuel. Let me fuel my body because remember you get one vessel. Why would we not take care of it? You get one vessel, so why would we not take care of it? Because if you don't, you're cooked. You're literally cooked. Health's the most important thing, and I'm really tired of people like undermining it. No one's saying you have to be a bodybuilder, and this is why it's important you raise your standards too. Working out 3 days a week, eating whole healthy foods, and hitting your protein goal, tracking calories. That's not like people think you're a bodybuilder if you do that. That's the thing you have to recognize. Like it's not that; it's just their standards are too low. Because when you raise your standards, you recognize, oh yeah, this is like normal. Whether you want to be a doctor, bodybuilder, police officer. It doesn't matter what you want to do. An artist, you still got to do these things. It doesn't change. It doesn't change. Your standards are just too low, so you think it's like you have to give up everything. This is why it's important who you listen to. Because for me, when you know someone, this is why your environment's important. When you know someone, maybe it's an older brother, older sister, that works double the amount of hours you do and still works out 5 days a week and still is their approaching goal, you have no excuse. Because let's be real, we're not working 60 plus hours. Very few people are doing that. But if those people are still doing everything correct, you have no excuse. But remember, there's going to be a lot of sacrifice on this journey. Remember, your circle is going to get smaller. If you decide I want to get lean, you have to be prepared. You're like you really, and that's the thing. If I were to tell someone that's going to get to a journey, I would just say, I want you to look at your circle. I want you to count, right? Let's do it right now. I want you to count on your hand every person you consider a friend. After the 6 months, cut that number in half. Maybe, some Attack on Titan shit. Cut that number by 80%. And that sounds crazy, but lock in for 6 months. Truly lock in. Hit the gym. No cheat meals. Do all those things. Talk about it. Even SR2. Your friend circle is gonna get destroyed. Like the rumbling is gonna go after your friends. Literally, like they're gonna basically get wiped out. But the ones that do remain, you basically you will have friends for life. But I'm telling you, a lot of you are not ready for that part. And I'll say, I've already been through it a few times, so I think it's a little easier. But the most recent one, I wasn't. I saw signs, but I didn't think it'd end like that. But it's okay. You got to keep moving forward on some Eren Yeager shit. But now your standards get higher. Like you won't let someone like in your personal space that easily. That's why it's important to have high standards. Like you won't settle. Like someone's got to really check all your boxes for you to even interact with them. I know that sounds crazy, but that's just a consequence of you like getting genuine lines. But it's funny. Like if I can go back to my old self, like years ago, like some anime shit, and you can have a conversation with your past self, it's funny. I would actually encourage him do this sooner. I'd be like, yeah, like find this guy's page, like start hitting the gym sooner. Like ask dad to like make use his car to go to the gym. And it's funny because you recognize, yeah, you want to get on this path as soon as possible, not later. You don't want to delay it. You want to put this in motion as quickly as possible. And I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. I had that thought, but I wouldn't. Oh, I guess. Well, I know I would tell him. Like, no, it's interesting now because I would say, yeah, the friends you have now in high school, most of them aren't gonna last, but a few will. But there's no like most of them are gonna be gone, and you'll meet some people after high school, but those won't last either. And like I said last, I'd say like do you really want it? Because your actions will show like how bad you want it. Because now for me, like this Lena's loss is the most important thing. Like actually, it's actually the most important thing because I recognize there's so much to gain when you master yourself. You have control of your gluttony. Like it's the most important thing. That's why I consistently do the same things, every day. That's why we make these videos because we have to get more people on this path. Because that's the most important thing is getting more people to be healthy, raise their standards. Because if you're having problems, if you're not like I'm telling you, I'll tell you guys firsthand. Like I just didn't have any confidence in myself because I didn't have any merit of doing anything difficult. But then I started to think, meditate, journal. But SR and really the gym showed me like, yeah, like you've actually been doing something very difficult consistently for years. Like don't undermine that. See, as you learn more and get more lines, you start to look at your reality for what it is. So you stop downplaying your success because when you look around you, you see how cooked everyone is, and you recognize, oh, I'm actually not cooked. Oh, that's why I'm the weird one. But then you also recognize, oh yeah, that's a good thing. I want to be the weird one. I don't want to be like everyone else because then you're gonna get results like everyone else. And the average, especially the average dude now, is so cooked. Like multiple gooning, the corn, like it's just average dude is so cooked. And I had to sit and recognize, yeah, I'd never want to be like that. And if I do end up like that, find a shotgun and blow my brains out on some ReZero shit. Let's try it again because you don't want to be that cooked. It's just at that point, damn. So that's why I stay on the journey, and I encourage you guys to get on the journey. And that's another thing too. A lot of people, they're really gonna say they want to get in shape, they want to get lean, but they're not gonna do the work. You have to really. You gotta say it, and then you really gotta start doing. That's why you gotta like retard max. you know, track those calories. You got to get through the hunger pangs, you just have to start doing, because when you start doing, things are going to start to change, and that's going to reflect in your environment too. Because when you get to a certain point, when your environment starts to change, yeah, it's not the environment. I mean, it's not you. It's really your environment. The people are drifting apart because of them, not because of you, because you're doing all the right things so that you can get to that ideal version of your future self. So you're not in the wrong. If you have a friend and they're like they want to work out and you invite them to work out and they don't come, then they don't want it bad enough. But you don't get mad at them. You just view them as okay, they don't want it as bad as they say. And that's the biggest thing too. Now I don't care what the person says. I care what they do. Because and that's the whole thing, the law of consciousness. What you truly believe inner, you're gonna do in the outer externally. So if someone really says they want to get in shape, that's gonna manifest in them working out consistently. That's why what you say it doesn't matter. It's what you do that matters. The most important thing. That's why the gym, the diet, these are important because these are how you build commitments. Because when you build these commitments, when you say you'll do something else, you'll actually do it, and you'll do it every day. Because now, if someone said they want to work out, I'm like, okay, all right, that's cool. Let's come back in a week. Let's see if they're actually about it. That just makes you able to objectively view your reality more. So yeah, guys, that's why don't bulk. Definitely, let's all get lean together, increase the vibration and frequency, and stay locked. Till the next one. Let's get it.